my son played a tournament down here, or up here in upstate New York, on the Abner Doubleday Farms for Cooperstown. I forget. There's two Cooperstown fields. There's one in Cooperstown and one in Oneonta. And anyways, not far from Cooperstown, New York, the home of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And I wanted to kind of give you a little tour of hello, of what's going on in this little town. Because today is kind of a sleepy day. There's the way these big tournaments work. There's kind of a few down days, and then all these families suddenly just swarm the area and take it over with tours and all sorts of stuff. But let me give you a little show around here. It's a very small town. It's old, definitely old, but you know, you can see it's 22 Main, and then this whole street, this is literally Main Street, that's the name of it. There's these little tiny stores, but full of some of the best memorabilia I've seen around. Tons of baseball cards, you know, collectibles, bats, stuff that probably should be in the Hall of Fame, but aren't. And what kind of threw me off at the Hall of Fame was its size. It's actually very small, but I didn't keep coming down the street here. So there's actually a music store, mostly old stuff. I wouldn't buy any of this stuff, honestly. I don't know what kind of music scene they have here, but it looks like this old theater. It's an ice cream shop. They're hiring. You need a job here. But the main theater is various collectibles and shirts and hats. What is this? Oh, this is a cigar company. Very cool. One of the crown jewels here is the Baseballism store. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this brand. They were really awesome and gave us a tour. Gave our team a tour of the store and gave us the story and the rundown of some of what it means. This, honestly, I didn't get to see this last time. We only had 2 hours as a team to come down here, knock all this stuff out, and then get back for another game. This is Doubleday Field, which is kind of hidden off the road. Yeah, let's go take a look, because I didn't get to see this. So apparently there's some big games that get played here. I have no idea what they are. I also believe this is where they do the induction ceremonies when it comes to the actual Hall of Fame. Oh man, I'm screwing it up right now. I know there's only 2 guys going in this year, which is one of the smallest classes in the Hall of Fame. But I'll tell you what, if I played my cards right, I would totally buy a house here. Mostly because it's freaking gorgeous. You know, living in Northern California, you know, it's a beautiful area, but I've never seen anything as lush and green as here. Like green all the time. Here, give me a second. Let's go in. So, the sun's right there. There's Doubleday Field. I guess you can just go in. I'll give you a Doubleday Field, the birthplace of baseball. So, I don't see a whole lot of history. There's pictures of some old-timey stuff. Hall of Famers who've appeared at Doubleday Field. But the list is long. Anyways, enough picture time. There's actually kind of a game going on right now. It's a bunch of old timers. They have a modern scoreboard. Check out the dugouts. They are literal dugouts. So it's really hard to see from the angle. Let's see if we can get a better look over here. Check out that dugout. It's literally in the ground underneath the stands. Sorry. Of course, I needed to get through here. Photographing through a hole in the fence is never easy. The chain links are problematic. But check out these old time. Every seat's a bleacher seat. You know, you just sit on a bench and watch. It's unfortunate people leave their garbage laying around. There you go. Doubleday field. Back to Main Street. We're gonna go check it out. So, there's a lot of misconceptions that I had, and I know a lot of people have about the Hall of Fame. And there's being an inductee, and then there's the story of baseball. And these are completely different things. The inductees are the inductees. And there's a few notable names that you will not find on that wall. Barry Bonds, Pete Rose, Jose Canseco, and Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. And that list is somewhat long because improprieties, if you will, legal or otherwise in the game, you know, and that's too bad. But just because they don't have a bronze plaque doesn't mean they're not in the Hall of Fame. Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire, Pete Rose, Barry Bonds, all those guys technically are in the Hall of Fame. They have several exhibits, and one of them was the big home run race in the late 90s, and all that's in there. There is a area with mention of, you know, steroids and the controversy of that time. Pete Rose technically is in there, but he just doesn't have a plaque. So I have to sort of take back my criticisms as these players are in the Hall of Fame, but not enshrined in the Hall of Fame. And when you get to the actual enshrinees, it's actually a very small room, and the plaques aren't very big, maybe about 5 by 7. They're not big at all. They're just, I can't show you with my hands since I have my camera, but they're smaller than my head. I have a big head, but they're not big. They're actually pretty small, and they list them by range of years. And I'm actually kind of interested because once you get to a point, you have to grow the hall. And it's a very small brick building, and we're about to be there in a minute. Trying not to get run over here by car. I have no idea why they stopped. But yeah, it's just one of those things. But yeah, anyways, long story short, those guys are technically in the Hall of Fame. One of the ones I thought was kind of a weird one, I'm like, oh, this guy's in here a few times. It's Phil Pohl, P-O-H-L. He was an Oakland A's battery coach. He's one of their catching coaches. Bullpen coach, that's what they call him. I'm like, why is this guy in here? He's got his helmets and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, the guy's born here in Cooperstown. So, you know, he's a hometown guy, so I guess they put him in here. But so we got more downtown. The hall's still about a block away. You got all these little old buildings, restaurants. It's Cooperstown's bat company. They actually make baseball bats. We stopped at their factory, sort of on accident. This whole area is like farmland. So there's a whole lot of nothing, and then a house, and more nothing, and then a house. Very middle America sort of thing. And we just kind of happened upon it since we took a wrong turn, because there's some places there's no internet, and the GPS had no time to kind of update, so we took a wrong turn. More downtown. It's all baseball oriented. You know, more souvenir shops, cafes, autographs and collectibles, more bats. I saw a thing, and I don't know how to get it back. So let's see. Yeah, really. Yeah, Maurice. This place is, if you like baseball, you will love this little town. It's very small. Reminds me a lot of places like Point Richmond, and you know, even parts of Alameda, and you know, any of these places that still have this old style colonial and Victorian architecture. You know, it's just all this really beautiful stuff. I love it. In the middle of the road, there's just a flagpole. If you go down this street, and all these little streets, at just about a block away, there's a pier, and I don't know what you want to call it, a boatyard, or a public pier, or a yacht club, or whatever. Of just yachts. It's on a lake. It's a beautiful town. The cemeteries are even pretty nice. So more ice cream, Italian ice. So when we came here the other day on Friday, this place was packed. There's nowhere to park. The sidewalks are filled with people, and I feel really bad, but I know who these guys are. These are the whalers out of South Bay, and looks like one of them took out their hat, and I don't see any of these guys around, so I'll hold on to that for them. Hopefully we'll catch him catch him back home, get him his hat back. So here we are. We're coming up on the hall, which, if you were just driving by, is a super unassuming building. It looks like maybe a church or a town hall or something. So this is it. Let me get it out far enough. It's really small. The spiderweb doors. I'm gonna go across the street, and then I'll give you the reveal, so that it can. Since there's no parking in front, this is it. Just really this. It doesn't look like much, does it? It's a very simple building. It's actually much smaller than you might believe. The exhibits are really tight. There's really only a few little hallways and stuff. There is a movie theater. They show you about a 15-minute movie about why baseball's so amazing, with many living and a few now past guys like Willie Mays and so on, just talking about the love of the game. Hi, puppy. But and then that's it. That's Cooperstown for you. You know, there's really not much. About 2 blocks of these really beautiful historic buildings, and then nada. This is the library over here, and I have no idea what that is. I think it's a church. There is on the other side of this block is a church of that has a couple spots of significant importances. There was I know there was a thing, Susan B. Anthony had visited this church, and talked about women's rights and stuff. It was kind of like the kickoff of her campaign, as well as there was another thing about ending slavery. I guess this was a popular place to to have such meetings. This is, look at this, beautiful. This is the library, I believe. Looks like it's a public space, so we'll go poke around a little bit and keep it quiet. See what this is. Erected for the benefit of the citizens of the village of Cooperstown. Yada yada yada. Yeah, it's the library. Very cool. Just poking around. I don't dig around too much. Very cool. Yeah. I don't want to bother anybody in here. I've seen too many videos of people having the police called on them and arrested under false pretenses and stuff. So I'm like, I'm a little wary of that stuff. I don't plan on going to jail during my vacation. Yeah, so if you ever think about coming to Cooperstown, please have something else to do. Because going through the hall, if you want to read and look at all the exhibits, you might need 3 or 4 hours. If you just want to look at the cool stuff and just kind of rip through it, 2 hours is plenty. We had about an hour and a half between there and then going to Baseballism. Some of our guys ended up on the Baseballism website or on their Instagram. They hosted our team. They only host a few teams, give them special pins. Pin trading is huge here. So if you go into some of these restaurants, or not restaurants, some of these stores, like their pin collections are like wall to wall. And then some of them might just have like a couple of knickknacks. But all in all, let me show you this one. I don't even know what this is. I guess it's a park. It's just hidden behind the hall. But super pretty. You know, nothing much going on. You can't really park here without a permit. You just go through and have a stroll and eat your lunch. Sorry, I'm trying to flip the camera. It's kind of like the backside of the hall and whatever this is behind. Actually, there's a couple of statues here that I guess maybe we missed. So I'm gonna take a look at those, because these could be really cool. So let's see what kind of, if there's any significance or if these are just cool to look at. This coach and the catcher boy, or the catcher Roy Campanella. It's hard to read this. Cast in bronze by Stanley Blyfield. This sculpture modeled after the 1955 World Series game 7 battery of Game 7 battery of Johnny Podres and Roy Campanella were donated by ardent fan Sheldon Fireman in memory of all the hours he stood outside Ebbets Field hoping to collect an autograph from anyone who ever played there. May they put a smile on the faces of all the wonderful fans of baseball. That's pretty cool. There's that. And I guess these are all the pictures in that moment. So that's pretty cool. Very cool. And we got, oh, it looks like a woman at bat. Oh my gosh, this is so hard to read. So you gotta catch the right angle. Same guy, in honor of the members of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. Yeah, very cool. So think a league of their own. Then we have Satchel Paige. Same guy. This is in honor of the Negro League's most celebrated pitcher and dedicated to all those, all of whose contributions to the national pastime were too long diminished simply because of the color of their skin. That is an important thing. Only recently was, I believe last year or the year before, were the Negro League actually part of the National Hall of Fame and recognized by Major League Baseball. So now, when you look at historic records of, you know, stats or whatever, you're looking at everybody else who ever played. And there were some guys beyond Satchel Paige or Jackie Robinson, Roberto Clemente, and these other guys who were not basically white guys, who really made an impact on the game, furthered the game, made their contributions to the game, but were left out for 100 and change years. They finally have a spot. Although I did find it to be still very small, and I don't think that's a knock on them specifically. It's just that the size of the hall really isn't that big. So this part right here, this little niche, is that's where all the plaques are. Just that little part. That's, maybe we can go peek in a window, I don't know. But the rest is a movie theater, an exhibit hall, and a what do you call that thing? And a merch store, you know, memorabilia store. It's much smaller than you would have thought for the oldest game in America. Again, very what's the word I'm looking for? I won't say deceiving. I thought it would be bigger. I thought it really would. Again, my first impressions were that it's going to be this big, huge building with crazy statuary and monuments to players. I thought it would be sort of exhaustive, but it's really not. It's just kind of a spot. I don't know. This might be some offices. Actually, these are just offices. Once I look through these windows, won't bother anybody at work. But see anybody in there? Right there. Making copies. You guys remember that thing? It's just a little atrium of sorts. You go up or down. Nothing really to see in there. So yeah, you gotta pay your admission if you want to see all the good stuff. So yeah, that's Main Street, Cooperstown. Beautiful spot. I think if I came back here, I'd want to rent a little cabin down by the lake. Maybe rent a bicycle or something. Maybe a motorcycle, maybe a boat. Cruise around, because it is a really cool area. But besides that, there ain't a whole lot here. I hope you got other stuff to do besides look at this. We had a week of baseball, which was honestly quite spectacular. Cooperstown All-Star Village, I believe is what it's called. You know, it's a age 12 tournament, which is the top age of Little League Baseball. It's not the World Series or anything like that. They do multiple weeks of somewhere between 50 and 75 teams per week come in and do tournaments. We finished like 30th or something like that out of 71. You know, wanted our guys to play. We made some bonehead moves, you know, but we did all right. But these kids had an absolute blast. Pin trading again was the thing. Everybody brings their cool enamel pins, and you know, the kids trade them all week. You know, super competitive, super fun. You know, the parents, we hung out and had dinner and lunches, and just generally just supported our kids and watched them play. It was for us, it was 9 games in 4 days, which is a lot of baseball. Today is our first day off. Almost all the kids just slept until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. These guys were wiped out. Yeah, so if you guys are ever coming out here, you know, have something else to do. We're gonna go hit New York City, and we're gonna leave tomorrow, and then catch a Yankees game. They're playing the Astros on Friday. Do some sightseeing, and head home and do it all over again. School starts next week, so gotta get our summer in while we can. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the little tour here. Again, just downtown's Cooperstown. I wish I could show you inside, but we don't have the credentials to do so. Anyways, because here I only have like 2 bars, so it's almost dead inside there for me. Again, we're in the middle of nowhere, so there's not a lot of signal in the first place. But anyways, I'm gonna take off. I gotta go to dinner. Yeah, if you ever come out here, it's definitely worth the trip if you're a baseball fan, and it's a really cool little spot. All right, guys.